Hello and welcome to the Podawakens Chronological Clone Wars, where we rewatch. I rewatch. Logan watches for the first time. Star Wars: The Clone Wars in chronological order. Both of our first times watching them in chronological order, though. So I'm really enjoying it so far. I am Jordan, and he is Logan. How are you today, Logan?
Good. Yeah. No, just watched the episodes, so fresh off the episodes, and I'm excited about today's episode because I was really excited when we announced that there were going to be 3 episodes in the next one because I was like,
Uh
oh,
huh.
good, I get to watch 3 more instead of just like the 2 or 1.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, I'm really looking forward to it. But how are you doing?
Doing good, and we got 3 episodes a week for the foreseeable future. For the next, the next 3 weeks are 3 episodes. Yeah, I'll make a bad joke here, I guess. They mention Bad Batch quite a few times in here, but this was a good batch of episodes here. So, really excited to talk about it, especially this first one that we're going to dive into. But just to reiterate for everybody at the top here, this is week 3 of our rewatch. We started off with 2 episodes in the first week leading up to the Clone Wars animated film, which was week 2. And then this week, we have season 3, episode 1, Clone Cadets, season 3, episode 3, Supply Lines, and season 1, episode 1, Ambush. Those are the episodes we are discussing today. So I guess let's start with the Clone Cadets, which premiered originally September 17th, 2010 in the USA. This was directed by Dave Filoni, written by Cameron Litvak, and the Disney Plus description here is Clone Cadets struggle to complete their training. I think this is the strongest one of the batch, and I think that this one is one of the best episodes of the show, if I can remember off the top of my head. Like, I just really enjoy seeing these groups, and just to if anybody's on their journey for the first time, like Logan is, I want to reiterate here: we will see these characters again, these clones again, because actually this is a prequel to an episode in season 1 that we will get to in 2 weeks called Rookies. So these characters of Domino Squad, um, we will see again, and I think this is the benefit of watching it in chronological order, is getting to know their backstory now instead of like you see them in Rookies in season 1, and then 2 seasons later you're like, wait, okay, this is a prequel, and then trying to pick up like, oh, we're seeing our favorites again, but they're even more than rookies. They're cadets, like just being able to get this out of the way now, I think is a huge benefit of the chronological order. Um, but yeah, this episode I really, really enjoyed. Logan, your initial thoughts here on Clone Cadets?
Yeah, no, I really like this episode. I thought it went into a lot of cool, I guess, aspects that you don't really think about in the Clone Wars as they're leading up to kind of join a squad or whatever it might be to get into the wars. But then also, I think that this was one of the first episodes that it really dives into like a deeper, it's deep with 99. So it's like it really is interesting to kind of see how they take this to more of a personal level. And I don't know, they've done a really good job with this show, it seems, so far, where they build out these characters and add more emotional impact to it, where I thought it was just going to be more focused on battles because that's what kids like, but also it's got some aspects in here that are deep. So I really like this episode. Can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, I like to equate this show to like some of the shows when I was growing up, like Batman the animated series. You know, that would be for kids, but there's a lot there for the adults while they're watching too. And I know we get a lot of those these days too with but it's more like the jokes are for adults sometimes and it goes over the kids' head. These are like deep themes and stuff that we can relate to. I mean, this episode made me tear up at the end when 99 and Heavy are talking. It's like that type of they do such a good job with that stuff that I really enjoyed this, and this is also some setup here, guys. I don't think they knew it at the time. Maybe they did, but there's a reference to the Bad Batch here where they say, the one Brick, the bounty hunter, says, fail them and send them to maintenance with 99 and the rest of the rejects. Well, Bad Batch is also Clone Force 99. Now, of course, they're referring to 99 as the clone, but also the rest of the rejects. And then later on, they say that they're like a Bad Batch. These characters are not the Bad Batch that we will get to know later in season 7 and also in its own spinoff, the Bad Batch, but it is just like a reference that they even exist, that there are other rejects, that there are other clones out there that, and this is a reality. I think this is really cool that they kind of dove into this. When you're cloning, not everything's going to be perfect, right? There might be something that happens to a certain batch of clones because of the way that maybe the DNA sat out or it didn't do something right, whatever Camino actually does to clone them. But it seems like it would be a reality that at some point you're going to have clones that, are not as good. And it sounds like from this, they're getting more and more Bad Batches, right? Because they have to spread the DNA of Jango Fett thin, they said, because Jango is dead. And they mentioned that in this episode. With Jango dead, we're having to spread our resources on these clones, which is another thing I really liked about this, because it's something that is something you would think would happen, right? I mean, they're pumping out so many of these clones, and now the person that they're basing them off is completely gone. Now, of course, if they could get their hands on Boba, right? If there could, I mean, I guess they could even use some of the clones as the DNA too, if they really wanted to. But then you're leading into more variables, I think, which may not be as good as having it straight from the source. Yeah, but this is our introduction to Domino Squad, including Echo, Fives, Cut Up, Heavy, Droid Bait. These are our 5, and most of them start getting their names in this episode. And kind of one thing, I think another thing they've done really well here, Logan, is giving each of these clones their own personality, that it might take some time. Like when they show a clone, and you're like, okay, which one is this? And then as soon as they start talking or they reference something, you're like, oh, this is that personality. This is Echo. This is Fives, And I think that's something the show has done pretty well as well.
Yeah, I think it'd be really hard too, because especially when you're just watching like the Star Wars prequel and the sequel and all the different variations of the clones, just because like clones don't really have personality. They're just kind of seen, I think, as just numbers. But in this show, because it's focusing so heavily on the clones, I think it's harder to, because they all look alike, right? Because they're clones. So it's like, okay, which one is it? Which personality? But some of them have different scars that they get through battles. Some of them speak differently. Some of them are a little bit more hesitant than the others. And I think it's interesting that Lama Su, mentions the fact that they're spreading Jango's DNA thin, because I think she's alluding to the fact, is Lama Su, is she, or do we know what gender it
Lama
is?
Su is. This is not Lama Su talking. I forget who it is supposed to be talking.
I thought it was Lama Su.
but let me try to look into that while you're talking. But
Okay.
I will say real quick, Joy just points at the Kaminoans and she's like, "I love these people. Like they look so cool." And I'm like,
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. No, I think it freaked me. They kind of look like aliens. But as aliens generally would look. But yeah, they are. But I think the thing about the conversation is that as they spread DNA thin, I think you start to have defect, and those defects are, and this is always the argument too, is that I think part of the problem and part of what Order 66 ends up being is that a lot of these clones start to have feelings, and I think that's where especially because the Jedi know things about feelings and having that allegiance to whoever it is that too strong of feelings can be bad. So but yeah, no, I think it's interesting that they have mentioned that, and that it's starting to kind of look that way. But like you said, it's so hard to tell them apart sometimes, especially when they were out of their clone, when they were just into like I guess their fatigues that they wear and their sleep pods or whatever they were. But that was even more difficult. I was like, I don't know which one's talking, who's who. I was so confused.
Right. Yeah, it takes a bit, right? And then, I mean, one thing that helps is that they have Heavy go pick up his gun, when he's talking to 99.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, yes, that is Heavy. At that point, he didn't have a name, though. 99 kind of gives him his name with the with that. But I tried to look it up. I could not find out who it was. But also, it's just anytime I go on Wikipedia on my computer, it just completely slows down everything. And so I'll see if I can find, I guess, more information on that as we go. But I think this one is a guy Kaminoan, if I'm right. I think they do have a name. I'm just trying to figure out what that name is. Oh, you know what? You're right. It was Lamasu.
Was it?
There you go. And Lamasu is male. There you go. Tonwei is female. That's the one that Boba talks to.
Yeah.
Dad, Tonwei's here.
Right.
Okay, so also in this, we get a nice reference to George Lucas and one of his short films, as Bravo Squad is going to run the Citadel, and Commander Colt says to put them through like THX-1138, and that is a reference to George Lucas's short film THX-1138. So they love throwing that into random Star Wars dialogue too. So that was great. But yeah, so then we have Brick, who is the meanest bounty hunter in the sense of it's just a jerk. He's gonna steal their ascension cables, and I do wonder why the other bounty hunter, Ellis, is so convinced that they will be the best they've trained, because there's nothing in it we've seen that shows that they would be. But I'm guessing because of all the adversity that they're going through, the fact that they still keep trying, I guess, is another good thing. But he's going to steal their ascension cables. And he also tries to really intimidate Cut Up, who is going to take his name from what Brick says when he says you're nothing but a cut up, and he starts beating the crap out of him, and he just laughs it off and goes back to his squad. But yeah, Brick is just a total jerk here. He steals their ascension cables, but they still figure out how to climb the Citadel, and they do succeed, and they work together as a team pretty well after a bit here. I'm surprised Shakti did not try to help them out a little bit more. I know in their mind the Jedi are like, well, she kind of says if they're going to be the best, then we're going to see them overcome this. But I mean, Brick is just straight up sabotaging these people, and Shakti is like, I'll allow it. It's kind of how it came across.
Yeah, no, it was like, no, they're going to face adversity and war. I guess it makes sense, but then it's also kind of like, this is one of those teams that's really struggling. So it'd be like, it need a confidence boost. Like, you don't want to just, I feel like it'd be a waste of money, right? Like there'd be a waste of money just to.
You're a former teacher, Logan. You ever have a student that is struggling and you're just like, well, I'm going to give you the hardest test in the class.
No, you don't throw obstacles. You usually remove them. Like, you usually remove the obstacles and went, let's build their confidence and then throw obstacles at them. Hey, you know what? They're drowning. Let's
calculus test. Everybody else has algebra. And you're like, well, you're the one struggling.
Figure it out. You're going to face adversity in real life, right?
You're going to be the best kid I've ever taught.
Yes. Yeah. It didn't make any sense. I did find it funny. I was like, and I really don't like Brick. Like, I was like, I don't like you at all.
I don't like his head. Kind of looks like a brain. Yeah, and it was freaky. Moving at times. I was like, this is kind of weird.
Yeah,
you look weird, man.
Yep.
Cool design though. They have some good creature designs in this. But yeah, so then they pass and they're going to join the 501st. We do see Rex leading them out as they are graduating, and that's why we're going to see them again. That's Anakin's squad, so we will see some of these people again. Okay. Anything else about this episode before maybe we move on to the next one? Did we miss anything that really stuck out here?
I think the really deep moment at the end with 99, when Heavy gives him the medal
Yes.
that he's earned, giving it
That's
to
the
99.
part that makes me cry.
Yeah.
I was like tearing up at that part.
Yeah. I love that so much. And basically, like, we're all brothers, and 99 was always looking out for them, especially Heavy. So no, I really did. I really enjoyed this episode. I thought, I think I'll rank this number 1 that we've seen so far, and this was probably the best
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this is the best one we've watched so far. That moment with 99 just really helped. And this was something I think that made like Joy's watching it with me, and she's not as into this stuff, but she wanted to watch it, and I think this episode got her a little bit more hooked than any of the others. When that moment with 99 happened, she's like, "Aw," and I'm like, "Yes, she's liking this moment." The next episode might set her back a little bit, but
Yeah, a little bit.
But no, that moment's really great because 99's like, well, I guess I'll never see you guys again. You guys are going out. He's like, well, of course we're gonna come back. You're
Right.
one of our brothers. So that's a real touching moment. Yeah. So the next episode we had was Supply Lines, season 3, episode 3, written by Stephen Melching and Egan Mahoney. It premiered September 24th, 2010. Directed by Brian Kalin O'Connell. And the Disney Plus description was, King Katunko is asked to send raid to Ryloth. I totally forgot that this was a Jar Jar episode. He's not heavily featured. I mean, look, you're going to get more Jar Jar focused episodes than this. But what I'll say is, I totally forgot. So they're like, the representative from Naboo, and Bail Organa's like, oh, but Padme is very good at handling that stuff. They're like, it is Obi-Wan's face of just saying, it's Representative Binks. You're like, I chuckled, and I was like, oh, great. This is Jar Jar and Bail Organa teaming up here to deliver aid to Ryloth. Exactly who you want in your corner is Jar Jar Binks in this. The guy who's going to give the power to Palpatine in episode 3. But yes, King Katunko is a Toydarian, as this is going to take place on Toydaria, which is where they are going. Toydaria, of course, is also the home world and the species of Watto, Anakin's former slave master. And now we know the planet he comes from is very pro helping out people. Makes him more of a sleazeball, right? Doesn't it? Because he's like totally against their values.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna get when I saw them, I was like, oh, I thought we were gonna get more of a slimy like betrayal, and for some reason he was gonna go and find.
Nope, just Watto.
Yeah, just Watto. I was like, oh wow, these people are actually really kind. And then, even when the leader, I forget the guy's name, but when he was like, oh well, yeah, we're gonna have to, we're gonna play neutral, but then ends up not really being that neutral. So
yeah, this was I like this. I like that, I feel like sometimes, and this is probably something that happens in Star Wars as well and just other places, but sometimes when you get a species in some sort of fiction, all of them act the same type of thing, like if you look at Harry Potter and you're like, oh, all the goblins are working at the bank, right?
yeah,
I mean, like, you never see like one outside of that,
right?
This having like Toydaria be like a really neutral planet, but also their laws say that they have to help people that are in need. And then one of them was also a slave owner on Tatooine, just shows that, okay, that one's the slime ball. Not all of them are like this. I think in some franchises it would have been like, all of them are like that. And I'm glad that they kind of do that because it allows for more depth and stuff on where they want to go. Um, but yeah, just really cool to see more Toydarians because really Watto's the only one we've ever really seen. So I liked having that. The opening takes place on Ryloth here, and we have blurgs as well as they are riding blurgs. And blurgs, little background, first appeared in one of the Ewok films, and then made their new canon appearance in Clone Wars, but they will also show up in The Mandalorian when, the first episode when he's riding the blurg with Queel, the Ugnaught. But yeah, having them here, and then we have all of these Twi'leks on Ryloth. That's their home world, and just wanted to point out for people. I'm not considering this a spoiler or anything, but the one that is in orange that they call Cham, that's Cham Syndulla, and he's actually Hera from Ahsoka and Rebels' father. So, just drawing the connection there. I really liked that. This is before Hera was created, of course, but they give her the last name Syndulla, and she does talk about her dad quite a bit in those shows. So there you go. Cham Syndulla is Hera's father, so we'll see more of that as we go in other shows if we start covering any of the other ones on here. But what about Master Dai? He's a pretty cool looking guy. He unfortunately will die. I mean, that is the unfortunate circumstances of his name, I guess. But
he does, yeah.
He really gives them a lot of time stalling and stuff. But his species is a Nikto. Keep Ryloth and help them. He buys them a lot of time before he dies. But yeah, just really liked having a cool Jedi Master that we're focusing on. That's not one of the main, the main ones.
Yeah, and he creates this plan to let the Twi'leks get away. And there's like a piece in knowing, like, it's kind of one of those, I forget, I think there's one of them in the movies before, but I can't remember who does this. But it's basically like, I love when people go out and they're like, you know what, I'm going to die anyway, but I'm going to stall as much as possible. And he really does. I think Master Dai uses a nice tactic where he's fighting, and then eventually the battle droids get him, but he stalls enough time for the Twi'leks to get it away from them, and the safety. And I always like when people do that. And it was a really cool cut, like kind of like a little scene there where when he does die, he drops, and then you just see his lightsaber, cuts to his lightsaber laying on the ground. Which I think Star Wars has always done really well, showing the Jedi when they die, like kind of, especially when, because which one is it? Yeah, no, it's, why am I blanking? I'm all of a sudden blanked on the third movie. What the heck is that?
Revenge of the Sith.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Yes. But again, I think when it does, it really does. It does a nice job. It's like almost in a weird poetic way of death. Like, I don't know how to explain it other than that.
Yeah, no, that shot is really cool of the the lightsaber hitting the ground, and you're just supposed to know, like, yeah, he's dead. And I think that is something I find sometimes having limits is better than not having limits. And what I mean by that is what you can put on television, what you can't, do. Like, I know a lot of people are like, well, like, I'm sure some people would want like a rated R Clone Wars where they're, just doing whatever, and showing blood and all that kind of stuff. But I think sometimes these scenes hit more when you have restrictions like this. You can see them die, I'm sure, but like, it creates more chance, like creative choices of like, all right, then let's just see the lightsaber hit the ground, right? Like, let's see that type of stuff instead of like I feel like sometimes when people push for like gore and like pushing and testing limits, it gets you more and more just kind of basic stuff of like, oh yeah, let's see them get shot and like all this blood goes flying, and you're like, that's not really what I want to see. But it creates a lot more opportunities for them to do different things, and I liked the scene. And Master Die, he unfortunately dies, but I was trying to write that in my notes, like Master Die dies, and I was like trying to remember how to say his name because I was like, Di could also be like D or something, right? Like, but I like that I was able to remember how to pronounce it because of the next word being that he dies. But yeah, so that's part of the story. The rest of the part takes place on Toydaria as Jar Jar Binks and Bail Organa are teaming up to try to use Toydaria as a staging ground to send relief to Ryloth. And they have to try to explain this to the king or leader of Toydaria. And at the same time, the Trade Federation steps in and tries to derail this. Now, Toydaria will send aid. They are a neutral planet, but they say we will only send it if you guys can make sure no one knows it's coming from us. So this leads to the Jar Jar hijinks of the episode where he has to... Logan's rolling his eyes for the audio listeners, where he has to stall and make sure that the Nemoidians from the Trade Federation do not see the ships leaving the planet. Logan, your thoughts here on Jar Jar's juggling adventures?
It was one of the parts I almost fast forwarded. I don't like Jar Jar Binks at all. There's only certain parts that I like. There's the part where he gets his tongue stuck in the into the pod racer. I think.
Yes.
And then there's a part when he's in his undersea. I forget what is it? Naboo that he's from. Where's he from? Yeah, Naboo. There's a part there too when he's in there with Obi-Wan, but I forget exactly what it is that I remember laughing at as a kid. But I hated Jar Jar Binks. And this is just like ultimate annoying. And he keeps making those noises, and I'm like, can you stop? Could you do anything else? Like, it'd be fun to give him a lightsaber and have him try to like use it. That'd been more fun for them to watch rather than
you might see that. You might see that later. You might see that later in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, that's exciting. But no, anything with Jar Jar, which sucks because I love Baylor. Balin, sorry.
Baylor,
yeah, but anything with Senator Organa are some of my favorite scenes so far. Which I'm
kind of good in this show. Yeah,
it's kind of a bummer that he never got much of a play and part in the original movies. So I really wish he had more because I really like him.
Yeah, he gets like a little bit in Attack of the Clones, but most of the screen time is in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
I do like that
Obi-Wan too, isn't he?
They did bring him back for Obi-Wan and Rogue One, so I do like that.
I forgot he's in Rogue One.
For like a little bit, but not too much. I liked the Jar Jar hijinks in this episode. I like Jar Jar. Call me crazy. I do enjoy watching Jar Jar. But there will be some episodes later on where I'm like, okay, do we need a whole arc of this in one thing? But I think he was pretty balanced, I think, with the Master Die stuff and Bail kind of having him be a little more balanced, I guess, in this. But they had to throw in the hijinks this episode. This is the 4 kids portion here, is him juggling and balancing the plates and the cups. I felt sorry for the people that got invited to this dinner that immediately gets their food tossed onto the ground. That would suck. What I'll also say is I don't know if I could do it, Logan. I don't know if you could do it either. This table that is spinning in the sky as they are eating. I was like, if people don't know, Logan has some motion sickness. Can't do certain rides.
Yeah.
I don't know. Could you handle this ride going in a circle eating?
No, absolutely not. And people have always said that because we were actually just in the land pavilion, and the restaurant in there it rotates every once in a while, and people are like, well, it spins. I'm like, no, 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 that doesn't spin. Like it's fine. But like this, no way. I'd hurl like Jar Jar. Well, Jar Jar's there too, so I really just lose it. So
Yeah, yeah. No, I would. I don't know if I could stomach it. Eating while it is spinning. I think at one point it does kind of stop spinning, but when it was going up in the air for
yeah,
them to like hover and eat dinner, it was spinning. And I
Disney.
was like, oh,
Disney would charge at least a couple grand for you to eat at that restaurant.
yeah. I mean,
Like
which one? What's the one that spins? The
Space 220 spins up, or no, the Living with the Land one does.
Living with the Land one. Yeah, what is that one
Yeah,
called? Garden Grill.
Garden
Garden
Grill.
Grill
Yeah.
spins.
Not drastically though. Like it's
No,
very
no, not like
subtle.
this. No.
No.
By
Yeah.
the way, where is this restaurant at in Galaxy's Edge?
They really missed an opportunity, I think.
Put like jet propulsors on the table and the chairs, lift
Yeah.
you up. Yeah, you could charge an arm and a leg for that. That should have been in the hotel. More people would have booked the hotel. So overall thoughts on this episode before we jump to the last one that we're talking about this week.
Yeah.
Like this
Anything.
one? Was it just like
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. Again, I think anything with Senator Organa, and we talked about this last episode. I love the politics of things, and this is very political in the way that he's trying to navigate these the trade federations, trying to keep neutral, but with the separatists operating in a different way. I think it's harder for Organa to kind of play that card because he knows the trade federation's trying to stay somewhat neutral, and those lines are trying to stay open. And yeah, anything like that, it's like gamesmanship. And I really got a good feeling from Watto's people, which is really weird because I've always disliked Watto so much that anything when a good thing happens, I'm like, all right, okay, I get it. These people are actually kind, really kind, almost too generous.
yeah. All right. So we will move on from this episode. And we're going to talk now about, and this is again another good excuse to do a chronological order, because we would have got to that episode and been like, didn't the Toydarians already help?
Yeah.
Because in episode 1 of season 1, Ambush, they have this is the whole episode about it. So let me read the description from Disney Plus on this episode. This was Yoda leads 3 clone troopers against a droid army. So a heavily Yoda based episode to open up the show for people back in 2008. Probably felt like a good idea. So we have Yoda, and I think this actually matches pretty well with the first episode that we watched this week, because Yoda's going to have this whole speech about how the one of the clones says, we're all just numbers, we're all the same, and he's like, no, you guys are all different. Like, I know you like this and you like that, and I thought that matched pretty well with a good bookend to the episode that we started the week with. So your initial thoughts here on Ambush?
Really excited that we got to see Yoda. Really excited about that because I think he does a really nice job in this episode. And anything with Yoda, I'm all for. I didn't know that this type of planet existed. It's like a dried up coral reef, which was interesting. Yeah. So I really did. I enjoyed it because I really did. I want to see more Yoda, because also I think, yes, you get some Yoda, but you don't really get Yoda. I'm kind of hoping at some point, and I know we're getting Grogu, but at some point it'd be really cool to get a Yoda show. I just feel like there's so much that can be told about Yoda with so many Jedi that he's seen, so many of the evil empire that he's seen. I think it would just be a cool show. So I'm hopeful. George Lucas and team at Disney, can you guys come up with something? Because I think that'd be exciting.
Yeah. I don't know how much I'd want them to go into a Yoda show, but
maybe a season, like a short series.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I think what's so fun about his character is how long he's been around.
Yeah.
And like if you go read like the High Republic books or the comics of the High Republic, like takes place what 100 200 years before Phantom Menace. He's still there. He's still a Jedi Master. He's still around. He's just not at like his, I don't think, highest level of authority then. But it's really cool to just know that we have like a constant. He is still there. But yeah, I'm sure we'll get some Grogu stuff in the future too after Mandalorian at some point. Like again, if he can last until 900, they can explore anytime in the future and have Grogu as a constant if they wanted to. Yeah, so in this episode, Yoda is meeting with the Toydarians, and they're meeting on another planet as supposed to be like a secret rendezvous. Somehow Dooku and Asajj Ventress get wind of this. Apparently, it was like a no, I think that was last episode that they did the transmission, right? That they broke the transmission. So I don't know how they figured it out. They figured it out, and Asajj is gonna provide the Toydarian King Katunka an option. She says, "Okay, if Yoda wins this test, you can go with the Republic. If we win, then you come with us." And he didn't really want to do it. Yoda's the one that's like, all right, put all money on me. I'm going to do this. And kind of a dick move, really, to like override what the king would want, right? What like the leader of the Toydarians is saying, like, no, we just want to go with the Republic anyway. And Yoda's like, let's risk it. I'm a gambling man. I know I can do it. And I mean, he does do it. But I love this moment too when they crash land on the planet in the escape pod, and Yoda starts walking a different way, and the clone trooper is like, the rendezvous point is that way, and he's like, so is our enemy. Like, I really like that. Like, Yoda's like, yeah, we're gonna take a detour, we're gonna go around a different way, we're not gonna walk right into their trap. And just, Yoda will say it multiple times in this episode, but like, we have brains, like the droids don't. We're going to use this stuff to our advantage. That's how you win wars, not by strength, but by brains. And one of the tricks he does here is kind of leading them into a forest that the tanks can't get through. So then that kind of leaves the tanks, useless, and then they have to kind of go on foot. And it was a good choice by Yoda. But what was your thoughts here when Yoda starts pulling these shenanigans to kind of thin the herd?
I mean, I feel like it's very Yoda, but I don't know. I feel like he's interesting because he's so experienced that I think he knows the ways in which things operate, and I also get the sense that he is so in tune with the Force that he sees things far before anybody else on any planet sees it. So I think ultimately you have that, but I love that he's always been that way. It's like he isolates, or he goes one by one. He eliminates opponents and attackers by just in like single-handed like combat, and knocks out people just one by one. And it's very methodical, but it's very Yoda. Like, it's very wise, very experienced, that he knows if I just keep chipping away, then I'll eventually get to what I want. Means to an end, I guess. But I don't know. I really do like anytime Yoda's in it, that he's very wise in which is the way that he goes about it.
Yeah, and I mean, like Yoda says, wars not make one great, right? But you would think, he says that to Luke when Luke is like, I'm looking for a great warrior, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think many people would have called Yoda a great warrior, right? Some of these clones may have too.
Yeah.
But he keeps pointing out, like, we gotta, it's like pretty much not our strength, right? Our strength should be from the mind. We can figure out the best way to handle these situations, and all of that kind of stuff. But great start to the series here. I forgot to say this was directed by Dave Bullock and written by Stephen Melching. This premiered October 3rd of 2008, almost a little bit more than 15 years after we're talking about it now. At one point, I really like this when Yoda like lifts the super battle droid and turns it around and has it firing on the other droids. And the
Yeah.
droid is like, I'm experiencing a malfunction. Like, run away. Another one of my favorite bits was when he cuts up in one of the tanks,
Mm-hmm.
and then two droids come running out and they're like, run. And then they're running and like in motion, like they're running in place.
Uh-huh.
And he just pulls them back in, and you just see their parts go flying
Yep.
after. I was like, Yoda is a badass, man. He
Yes.
is destroying these things.
I always wanted more of those too, like those instances, especially when they do show up to save Anakin and Padme. When Yoda shows up, and I love the interactions that he has with battle droids, because Yoda, like battle droids, stand no chance against Yoda.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they've got no anybody like that. Clones, battle droids.
He goes
Yeah.
and just like sits like he's meditating,
Yes.
right? And while the droid is calling the Asajj Ventress, and she's like, "What are you doing? Like, fire on him, like right
Mhm.
now!" And then he just gets up and starts destroying them. I love the one point where he like lands on a cannon and is staring at him, and then as they fire, he jumps up and it hits the other tank,
Yeah.
and you're like, "Yeah, Yoda." He's just running around like cutting up stuff. There's a great moment. This was probably my favorite part of the episode, is when he opens up the tank and starts wrecking this droid, and the droid's like, "But I just got promoted."
Yoda's
uh,
got great interactions with battle droids. So
yes, yeah, and the battle droids in this show have been very, very good comic
yeah.
relief so far. Yet a lot of that type of stuff. I just got promoted. Then there was the one where she calls the one droid and she's like, "Where is he?" And the other droid answers and it's like, "Oh, he just got like blown up." And then Yoda jumps into
Yeah.
frame and just chops off the droid's head as Asajj is watching.
Yeah.
It's so great. And another great part is just how cocky Yoda is, I guess, when I don't know if it's cockiness really, if you can prove it, but the Toydarian king calls him and is like, "I heard you're running into some trouble." And he's like, I don't know
Yeah.
anything
What
about this
trouble?
trouble
Yeah.
you're
No.
talking about.
What
It pisses
trouble?
Asajj off
Yep.
so much, she like
Yep.
force pulls the comm link and destroys it.
Yep.
He was so good at that. She ends up having to escape because she's gonna try to assassinate
Mhm.
the king. But Yoda arrives just in time to stop her, and she takes off. And I really like too when the Toydarian king calls Dooku and is like, "You're right. They're not a Jedi's not worth 100 battle droids. They're worth 1,000." Really
They did.
pisses
They did.
Dooku off.
Yeah, they did a really nice job with a lot of comic relief. Like I felt like there were a lot more in this episode than there's been. So
Yeah,
I was digging it.
yeah. The droids are always great. I just love how they write them, and so far it's always bumbling messes that they
Yeah.
are, trying to figure out the best way to do something. I forget, there was another moment in this where I should have wrote this line down. I knew I'd forget it. But it was a moment like that where the two droids are kind of talking to each other and they're like, "Wait, that's not right," or something, and then they start
Mhm.
like firing. Um, really good time. So, okay, if you had to rank the episodes this week, just the 3 that we watched this week in an order, what would that order be for you?
What was this last one called again?
Ambush.
Ambush. And then so you had the cadets. So I would say it would go cadets, obviously. I think in the order that we watched it. I think it's cadets, supply lines,
Hmm.
ambush for me.
I
But
think
I
I
like
would go. I think I'd probably go cadets. This one, then supply line
yeah.
in my order of this week. But okay, now rank the weeks so far: week 1, week 2, week 3.
This is definitely the best week we've had. I would say week 1 is ranked 2, and the movie's ranked 3rd. Yeah.
All right.
What about you?
Yeah, this is probably the best week, and I would say, um, yeah, and then I guess last week I did say week 1 was better than week 2, so I guess
Mhm.
it would go in the same order. um, yeah, but
They've been
so go ahead.
great so far. Like it's just been so good.
Better than
Like
you thought it would be when you heard good things,
when
or
I'd heard good things, but like it is really good. Like I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it makes sense, and I know there's episodes maybe coming that aren't as good, but so far I feel like chronologically, these are some really solid starts. I'm excited to see how it kind of progresses and getting a little bit more of different storylines that I know are coming. Like I'm sure we'll get more Obi-Wan and Anakin. I'm sure we'll get more Organa. Maybe we'll get some Ahsoka stuff soon. But it seems like I don't know. It seems like it's all falling into place, and it's exactly what I wanted. So I'm excited that we've decided to do this because I think it's one of the better Star Wars shows that I've seen. So
yeah, you want more Obi-Wan, Anakin, and the main crew? That's next week. That is next week. So this has really worked out so far so well. What do you think of the format so far with how many episodes we're watching? And I'm trying to keep them in
yeah,
arcs. I'm trying not to, like, next week is one full arc of 3 episodes. But so far, the format working for you?
yeah, no, and even 3 episodes because I thought maybe some of these weeks that have 3 episodes would be longer, but they're 22 minute episodes, so you just spend about an hour watching them, and they go by really quick. Like I'm
Yeah, they
always
do.
shocked by how quickly they go, and I'm like, man, that was it. That's already. And I think honestly, I think the end scroll starts to go through at like the 4 or 5 minute mark, so it's really only about 17 minutes in total because the scrolls
No, I
really have.
think they are 22 because I think
Are
they
they?
are listed as 26 on
Oh,
Disney Plus. So,
maybe I misread it then.
um, so you probably see
Yeah,
20 to 22 minutes before the
right.
credits start.
That sounds about right.
But it surprised me when I started watching them because I was like, "There's no way these are 26 minutes." But they throw in longer credits
Yeah,
on Disney Plus because they do all the dubbing and
yeah.
stuff. So next week, Dave Filoni returns, directing the first episode that we're going to watch. This is the I can't even talk. The
Malevolent.
Malevolence. Malevolence. Let me say
There
it
you go.
5 times to make sure I got it right.
There you go. You
Malevolent.
got it.
I just butchered it at the end there, but it's that arc that we're talking about. So, season 1, episode 2, Rising Malevolence. Season 2, episode 3, Shadow of Malevolence. Season 1, episode 4, Destroy Malevolence. So, chronological order, going in release order this week. So it's really easy if you're following along. You go right after what we just watched in Ambush. You just watch episodes 2, 3, and 4 of season 1. And actually, the next few weeks are actually just mostly season 1 through the rest of the way. There might be some season 1 that we skip or throw in a season 2 at some point, but it's like mostly in order now for almost the rest of the season. But yeah, should be a good time. This one is going to focus on characters like Ahsoka, Anakin, Padme, Obi-Wan, and you're also going to get a side of Plo Koon in this arc. So really looking forward to revisiting that one. That was like the first big arc of the show, starting at the second episode of the season. Um, yeah, and then after that, we'll have the episode Rookies, which follows the Clone Cadets again. So, really looking forward to the next couple weeks here that we got on the pod. Okay, if you want to follow us, we are on all of our socials at podawakens, or you can email us podawakens@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on how you're liking the format of the chronological watch so far. That is it from us. Have a great rest of your week, and we will catch you next time for Malevolence. Nailed it.